everyone. It's Gina Spagnola, President and CEO of the Galveston Regional Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to Leading Galveston Forward. I am so excited about my guest today. Not only is he the incredible CEO of the Port of Galveston, but he's a really dear friend of mine, serves on the board of directors, just a great leader in general and a treasured friend. So, Rodger, thank you so much for always saying yes. You are the busiest person that I know. You're doing such great things at the port. So thank you for coming over here and seeing us today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And I will say that I got a little sunburn from your golf tournament yesterday.
We had a golf tournament yesterday, y'all. It was a 4:45 get up for me.
And it was fun, too. It was really one of the biggest ones, wasn't it? It seemed like it was awfully big.
How'd you do?
It was a great.
I don't remember announcing your name. You finished,
I finished,
yeah. He finished and had fun.
I played 18 holes.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. What a great group, though, it was, just getting out there and really networking and stuff. And we had a lot of compliments on it. So thank you. Thank you for being out there. What I thought about this show is a lot of you that are watching probably know a lot of things about what's going on at the Port of Galveston. You guys do such a great job of telling that incredible story. But I wanted to take you back a little bit, and I wanted you to understand and kind of get to know my friend a little better, your journey, what kind of brought you here to Galveston, and then we'll go into the exciting where we are now and our future. But tell us a little bit. Where were you born?
Gosh,
where were you born, Rodger Rees? I don't even know that.
Yeah, I was born in Warren, Ohio.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And my father moved us to Tennessee when I was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent my whole adolescent life and college life in Tennessee. And I really claim to be from Tennessee more than I do.
Where in Tennessee did you say?
A place called Bristol, Tennessee,
Bristol. Okay.
which is up on, actually Bristol, half of it's in Tennessee, the other half's in Virginia.
It's beautiful.
It is right in the Appalachian Mountains. It is nice, near North Carolina. I grew up there and, went to college there at East Tennessee State University. Played baseball there for 3 years.
What position did you play?
I played third base.
Oh, wow.
And
good position.
The hot corner.
Yep.
And then also pitched a little bit, did some relief pitching. Back in those days, relief pitching is a little bit different than it is nowadays.
It was, but yes.
And had some fun doing that. And, after I graduated from college, I said, I'm going to seek my fortune. So I left Johnson City, moved to Atlanta. Started working for a company called Kraft Foods.
Kraft.
And I had a degree in accounting. And so when I moved it down there, I realized that, maybe I'm not an accountant totally. Mm-hmm. So I went back and started studying and passed the CPA exam after I moved to Atlanta. Because when I first went there, I was counting milk jugs, empty milk jugs. That wasn't really
that exciting.
It wasn't that exciting. So I figured if accounting's like this,
yeah,
maybe I should go into public accounting. So that's what I did. I passed the CPA exam and then went out into public accounting. And, did that for about 6 years. And we did a lot of work in real estate, syndications and tax shelters back in those days. And then I teamed up with a guy in Atlanta started doing some real estate. And
did you enjoy that?
I did. We did. I always did. We had back in those days. We used to do these syndications, and people would, invest in them and get a high yield from tax credits, and not to mention I had about 250 brokers that were with my firm in Atlanta, which I ran for almost 23 years, and. This was securities broker-dealer, SEC type work. And I sold that company to a group in Orlando. And so I stayed in Atlanta for 3 years and continued to run the division that I had sold. And then things started getting messed up in Florida. So I started complaining a lot. And so the guy says to me, well, why don't you just move down here and run it then? So I did. I moved to right outside Orlando, near Canaveral, and spent about three more years doing that. And then one day I woke up and I told my wife, I said, listen, I'm tired of this. I'd like to do something different. It got to be so heavily regulated And so we had done a small public offering, and so I left with my stock, and actually for about the next 2 years, did some consulting work, mostly for the couple with some small public companies, which really, I mean, they should have been public, but a lot back in those days, people used to think they were going to cash out by doing a public offering,
Right. Yeah.
and so. And these companies I was doing this consulting for, they were behind in filings with the SEC. So they hired me to come in and get them current with their SEC filings. And then one day, I lived in a little town called Rockledge, Florida, which is on the mainland across from Merritt Island and Kennedy Space Center. Used to sit, sit in my front porch and watch all the rockets go up. Every rocket, we'd sit in front and watch it.
It's beautiful there.
And so I had a lady from my church who, at the time, and I think she still is the secretary for the board of Port Canaveral. And she said, she called me up and said, listen, they're looking for a CFO at Port Canaveral. And I said, yeah. I always like to go out there and eat anyway. They had nice restaurants out there. And so
Beautiful.
I said, why not? I went over and met him. The guy hired me on the spot.
Wow.
And he said, listen, I'm not, he says, we're a port, but I'm not looking for port people. He says, what I'm looking for are business people. And
Perfect.
So, because it is a business. The ports are a business. That port especially is a specially licensed port with the state. There's no local jurisdiction or anything. The boards are elected. So I became the CFO over there, and we had a great run. I mean, just like what we're doing here in Galveston. I mean, the cruise business really took off over there. Not much cargo business over at
Mainly
Canaveral.
Cruise ships there.
Mostly cruise, yeah. They have about 8 terminals now, and they're growing. They teeter between number 1 and number 2 in the world between them and Miami, and so. This opportunity came up, and a lady who I knew was a headhunter, so to speak, and she said, "Hey, they're looking for a CFO in Galveston," and so I said, "Okay, I'll look at it."
Because you had enjoyed that, you enjoyed the work.
I enjoyed the work. I had work, had a great team. It's all about a team,
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when I came over here for the interview. They brought me in down Harborside Drive, and I was thinking, I don't know.
My own little route. My uncle always preferred, though. He was in the Navy, and he'd come from Arkansas, and he always wanted to take Harborside Drive. To him, that just made his heart sing. So it depends on where you come from. He loved seeing the industry. He wanted to see.
Boulevard.
Yes, it was Port, and he wanted to see that industry, and to him, that was money, and it is, but all of that, and they'd lived in San Pedro, I think, out in California, but he just loved it. So that was his street.
I had second thoughts.
Yeah, I bet you did.
When I drove down Harborside Drive, at that point,
I
said, well,
where's this taking me?
Yeah. And so I had told my the CEO at Port Canaveral that I said, listen, I'm going over here for an interview. I don't want to be above board with you.
Yes.
And the guy says to me, to this day, he says, listen, if it doesn't work out, you've always got a place here.
Nice.
And so, I came over here with the confidence that, if I did get the job or didn't get the job, I had a place to
go back to, and you liked it.
Yeah,
so.
it was there. And as a matter of fact, I don't like to boast very much, but, the day that I left, I got a standing ovation.
Oh, that's so
nice. And I started thinking about that afterwards. Was it because I was leaving that I was getting a standing ovation?
I don't think so.
But anyway, so we had, I came over here and we jumped right into it. And I had a little 2 or 3, 4 months of having to figure out everything and how we were going to go and who we were going to do it with. But that all worked out for the best. Even people that didn't stay on told me afterwards, that always worked out for the best for them too. So it was a good change, and I would say that what I saw first when I came to Galveston was Pelican Island. When one of the things I was focused on, I said, well, look at all this growth we can have over in Pelican Island.
Right.
And not knowing all the nuances that I do now, but the bottom line is that there was a big opportunity there, and as we'll probably talk later on, there still is.
So when you came, what did that look like for people just getting to know you and don't know what, we're going through this every day. But what did it look like there? We already had Carnival. So let's talk about that and what we were doing financially there and how that came about, and then we'll just keep transitioning into where we are now, where we're going.
Obviously, Carnival just celebrated their 50th anniversary here. And just brought one of their nicest brand new ship over here.
It's so beautiful.
And I had more relationship with Carnival than any other cruise line before I came over here, because after my first interview, I went to Miami and talked to a few people that I already knew. Said, what's your plans for Canaveral? I mean, for Galveston.
Yeah.
And they said, we have some things. Can't tell you what they are right now, but so I got excited. And Carnival is a great company. I mean, we've dealt with them for, like you said, for a long time. And then when I first came here in 2018, no sooner than a couple of years after that, we had COVID. And when I first got here, after about a year, Royal approached us and said, "Listen, we want to build a terminal here." And, I said, "We want you to build one here." And so we started negotiations, pretty much had a deal made, where they would come in, build a terminal. Because at that stage, the port did not have the financing nor the borrowing capabilities to bring Royal along and build a terminal for them.
$100 million terminal?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. It was $100 million, almost 120 million.
Which was, to put that in perspective, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the greatest economic impact to Galveston since the rebuilding of the Great Storm.
I think so. From an economic standpoint and revenues and jobs and everything, it really was. It was a game changer. For Galveston. That brand new construction, that type of investment had not been made in Galveston in a long way. And I don't know that up to that point if it ever been at that
I don't think
level.
So. The only thing I'd heard that since the Great Storm, we had to rebuild the entire city.
Right.
That economic investment that individuals and businesses put into it, but no one entity, I don't think, have ever.
Well, and we, then hit COVID. We had the deal signed. We were ready to go. And then so COVID hit, and then Royal said, "Hey, this doesn't change our position. Yeah. It's going to delay it a year, obviously, because we don't have any revenues. The port had lost 58 million revenues when the COVID came around, and so as soon as COVID was over, we were back on the drawing board and had everything going.
Seeing that ship out there, that they were back."
Yeah, and that was Carnival. We went out, we had Carnival. Actually, one of the things that we did was a little off the wall for me was we had that little rally. I don't know if you remember that.
I did. I was there.
We had a rally there. We had about 300 or 400 people there that wanted cruising, and we had signs up there. The ILA was there, and we all said, "Hey, we want cruise to come back."
Yes.
Although we still didn't come back for probably another 7 or 8 months, I think. But when it did come back, Carnival was the first one in the harbor.
They're such good.
And we had over 500 people that just went out there to see it come in. It was a big day.
And they invest in our community too. A lot of times people will just throw it out. Well, the cruise ships don't get back or whatever. It's really not true. I find them very generous and see various things throughout the nonprofits and all sorts of things and how they give back to this community.
Yep.
I
thought was
really good job.
What was really interesting when I first started them really giving it back was 2 or 3 years ago. They first started, advertising at the rodeo. Remember?
Oh God, that's big.
And no cruise lines had done that before.
That was big. This year too.
Yeah. And Christine Duffy is such a delightful person.
Yes.
And I just met with her when she was in, announcing the newest Carnival ship, the Tropical, which is going to be coming in here in 28. And we're excited about that. We'll have 2 beautiful new ships here. And then Royal, we got everything built, and now, I don't know if you saw the press release last week, but Michael Bailey, who came down for the groundbreaking on the terminal at CT10, and So he said last week at their shareholders meeting, he said, we're going to own Texas. These were his words. We're going to own Texas. And so I think he was throwing down the gauntlet to Carnival. I mean, everybody competes with everybody, but everybody doesn't in cases too. I mean, it's an industry. Yes. And when it's time for the industry, everybody jumps in, right? When you support the industry. And so that was surprising to me that he would say that. But the bottom line is they want to expand here some more. They're spending over $500 million down in Roatan. To redo a whole Port of Call down there. So this is why, because they're going to expand here. We expect to see in the next future, in 28, we'll see the, in 27.
27,
we'll see the icon. We'll see the icon in 27.
I'm trying to push them into it. Yeah, we're back. We have 25 cabins. The chamber, we've reserved 25
in the
cabins
icon?
In the icon. You guys should go. Because we did one this past year, and it was such a great success just to go and kind of be together and all of that. People could be on their own, so that we love doing that. So our other industry, where do we rate? I know the answer, but where do we rate right now in the nation and then in the world with the cruise ship industry? And then I want to talk about the other things that are coming through there that's making us.
Well, we're currently fourth. We're probably about 500,000 passengers behind Everglades. So we're fourth. Other three are on the east coast of Florida. And actually, number 1 and number 2 in the world are over there. I mean, 1, 2, and 3. They rank the top 3 in the world from a cruise standpoint. And we're 8th. We're just above Barcelona.
In the world.
In the world, right.
And
this is cruise.
In the nation, likely to take the 3rd spot.
Well, they don't have a lot of place to expand.
Yeah.
And we do. We just redid our master plan.
Yes.
In that master plan, it shows the pathway to get there. I mean, our projections are, in next 25 years, 10 million passengers, which would be would surpass anything that's happening in Florida, but they'll grow probably. True, that way too. But Miami has a lot of issues, a lot of traffic issues when you try to go cruising to Miami. It's bumper to bumper getting into the port. There's only 2 ways to get into the port, and they're both full. People get out of their cars and walk to the terminals because they just can't get there quick enough.
Yeah.
And so Everglades has got issues too with they're surrounded by reefs. So they really can't get any more expansion, any more berths over there. So I think, we can, and we are. So I think that we'll be
And I love it. I go to all the meetings and try to be there whenever y'all are showing all the things and the transportation and how well thought that is, and how you could just look up at this massive screen and just see that you're planning way into the future and how we can get around the island. I'll say, and we hear these all the time, but for those of you that haven't come down, you think, it's just going to be awful. It's not. It's not awful. The traffic's not awful. I will do it just so that I can see it and see what's going on. And so if I'm in a meeting and people say you can't, you can get here. But the great thing is, 8 minutes, I think, is what Royal Caribbean, their thing, from the time you park, you get there, by the time you get out of your car, and I've done this, get up there, check in. I think it's 8 minutes that you were on the ship to your cabin. So it's incredible. And that's just not something they've done. Like anybody that knows us, me and my family, we're going to time it and see. And it's incredible that people are so wonderful and so friendly on both. And they've just made it where it's not, you can park somewhere else, get shuttled over there, or stay in a hotel. Some of the hotels have the shuttling services and stuff, but it's really easy.
Well, it is.
It's not a stressful thing. So I love that.
And I would also say, we, as you said, we take this very seriously. And
all of us, because we live here and work here, and
we want it
to be good. Yeah.
We've got systems in place that can tell us if you're on Waze.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before.
Yeah,
if you're on Waze, we track all that data.
Yes.
And so we can tell you how long you're waiting in the traffic light. where you're coming from,
Yeah.
whether it's down Broadway. And that's the only real issue with traffic that we're seeing right now is people coming down the side streets to get to the terminal. Because if you know Galveston, you know there's other ways other than Harborside Drive
Yeah, we know
to
how
get to
to.
terminals.
Yeah,
Right.
we do Midtown and all. Let's talk a little bit about our the other things that you're doing there at
Sure.
the port, and so that's really exciting too. And we learned through COVID that we need to diversify. Well, I mean, the port has always been like that, but let's talk about those exciting things too that are coming through that end up here at our port.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would say is COVID, as you said, we kept everybody work. We did not lay off one soul, and we made sure that we had the work for everybody. And as a matter of fact, we got a lot of deferred maintenance and those kind of things done during that time period.
Yeah, that was good. You spent that very wisely.
But then what happened now just recently, I sit on the Port Authority Advisory Committee, which is a committee of TxDOT. And what we do is we get money from the state legislature, and that our advisory committee makes recommendations to the state transportation committee on where that money goes. And so just recently we've received $42 million. And where I'm going with this is now we are in the process of rebuilding our cargo business. We have in fact built a 1,400-foot berth on the west end. We filled in one slip
that
down there.
Good.
You can't even tell there was anything there now.
But that looks good.
And that'll be every one of those slips is another 7 acres that we're adding to the port. And so, and that'll be complete this summer. I mean, the berths are all built, and, they're starting to pour the aprons for the loading and all that. And we spent a lot of our own money on that. The total project was for two berths, and it was $105 million, and the port contributed $50 million plus of the capital that we had saved. I mean, even though we lost $58 million, we still saved that money every month, and so ready for this project to happen. And so it happened, and so now we have a revamped West End. We're looking for sources to fill another slip down there, and so I think it's starting to shape up, and that's exciting because we're getting a lot of inquiries from stevedores and carriers about how they can bring their stuff into.
And what are some of the things, I know what's brought in here, but what are some of the things that people might not know watching that come straight through our port? I mean, we can't touch on all of it.
Well, I mean,
but our tractors, our John
it's
Deeres,
what we call row-row.
Row-row
business is roll-on, roll-off business, and we get a lot of tractors, road equipment, road construction equipment. And maybe a lot of people don't realize, but we also import BMWs here.
Right.
And so we have about 40,000 BMWs coming in a year, and they come to a processing facility. We have a processing facility which, if you go into, you'd think it would be an operating room.
It's the cleanest thing I've ever seen. And isn't it where if you special order things in that processing center, the BMW comes pretty standard over, but then that's where they put in the specialty things.
That's exactly what they do.
Yeah,
a special stereo,
so cool.
special wheels, or something like that. And then so I think it's unique. And one of the things that we just saw last year was with supply chain issues. They were actually sending BMWs that were not complete, and so we completed them out there. So this is what everything we've talked about is on the south side of the channel. It's continuing to grow. We did take down the grain elevator, which gave us another 21 acres.
Yeah, that was good.
And so we've almost doubled the acreage we've had when I first got here, and not to mention we've built a new road. We're on the last phase of a road from Cruise Terminal 10 all the way to our property line on the west part of the port near 51st Street. And then I think in what's being seen, and it's being seen in Houston too. I mean, the HGAC, the Houston Galveston Area Partnership, has seen that there's some investment that needs to be made here.
Sure.
And so they've given us $2.1 million to study an overhead highway from 45 to the port. at 51st Street.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then there's another section of that just on the other side of 51st Street is the a property that we don't own, but we received $400,000 grant to look at right-of-way acquisition, and so we can continue the balance of our 4-lane road down through there.
Well, it's fantastic. In closing, what are some things, I know you can't talk about all of it, but right now, just remind everyone, we've got Royal Caribbean Carnival coming in, and so what are some of the other ships, the newer ships that I've been on a couple of them, but let's just talk about them because we have a variety of them coming in.
Yeah, I mean, and we just opened a new cruise terminal last year,
so beautiful.
which was an interesting story because it was Del Monte. We used to move bananas out of there for many, many years.
I know.
And cotton before that.
I know. It's so great.
So we made a deal with Del Monte, and so we renovated that terminal, and it's opened up, and it's the home port for MSC.
It's stunning. It is a stunning facility and ship.
Yep. And the third, and that they're the third largest cruise line now. They've surpassed Norwegian. And by the way, Norwegian also will be coming in there full time in 28. Right now they're seasonal. We still have Disney. And Disney comes in here seasonally right now at Cruise Terminal 28.
And it's typically the fall, right? When Disney comes in.
Yeah, that comes in November through April, that kind of thing. Because those ships
see the ears go by I'll look out my window and the ears will be going by, and I can hear the music.
Right,
and
those ships go to Alaska. They come here and stay during the winter months, and then they go to Alaska for there's a short season up there.
Yeah.
Which is great cruising too. If you ever cruise through Alaska,
I'd love to do
it's
that.
beautiful up there. And so, I mean, I think we have another cruise line that will be coming in here. I'm not at liberty to say yet, but they'll be coming in here year round.
Yep, great.
Starting in 27.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting to see them here. That they're a small line, but they're growing.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting.
And we've got some of the cruise ships have their own islands. And so that's been fun. I did get to go on a couple of cruises where I stayed longer, and you got to go to those private islands.
Right.
A lot of people always ask it's just typically Jamaica, Mexico. Where else do we go?
Mostly Mexico.
But
Roatan.
Roatan.
And some of that. And I think you're going to see some more of that development because the cruise lines have realized that they really need to be able to control where they're going.
Gotta mix it up a little bit. Yeah.
But it's hard because one of the problems with Galveston is that the ports of call are all full. Yeah. They're all full. So this is why, for instance, Royal Caribbean's developing their own down there because it's they're full. There's no and they're having problems getting reservations there, which has really helped the cruise business in Galveston because now we're starting to see cruises that are during the week.
Right.
Because they leave here going during the week and they can go down there on off times when there's not as many ships because traditionally it's Saturday, Sunday cruising if they can everywhere they go.
Yeah.
Because that's when people like their vacations.
Well, I can't, we've been here, Bob and I came in 91. We started looking in 1988 down here and fell in love with Galveston. And throughout those years, there have been some very exciting times. We've gone through some hurricanes and rebuilt and done all those things. But I'll have to say, I think we're in some of the most exciting times that certainly I've ever seen in our time here. And we're just grateful for you and for Lucy and your family. And you have done such a spectacular job. You're the Wharves board, our friends that serve on there.
Right.
And give so much, and so thank you for everything that you do. You're a treasure for Galveston, and
it's a team.
Just
I don't want to interrupt you, but
we got kind of talking about on the personal side.
We got a great team, and
you have a fantastic team. You well, your team, Brett, and I mean, I'm talking about that staff. Yeah. Oh, I love them. They are so good. And it takes that whole team, but just personally, what a great guy, what a great treasure. I'm glad you on my path in this life. So, and sweet Lucy and the boys who graduated from Ball High with honors, and now is salutatorian, and now is a proud Aggie. Gig 'em.
Right.
And so Thank you. Well, thank you all for watching today. We really appreciate you. Like our show, share our show, and book a cruise, y'all. It's a whole lot of fun. Or just come down to Galveston Island and enjoy all the things that we have going on here. Spectacular waters and our great hotels and incredible food. So come see us, stop at the chamber. We'd love to welcome you and give you a wonderful welcome bag. So stay tuned and we'll see you soon.